matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
My background isn't quite as attractive as it was over this weekend, but nonetheless, it is great to be back in the regular studio here with my good friend Dave Manouk to talk about the Winnipeg Jets improving to 34-15-5 on the regular season, 13-3-1 against the Central Division, with tonight's 6-3 victory over the Jets' rival, the Minnesota Wild. I say good evening, Winnipeg, good evening, Manitoba, and for all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, I say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show with Dave Manouk. I'm your host, Drew Mindell, back from my southern sojourn here to enjoy the unseasonably warm temperatures of Winnipeg and the great company of my good friend, Dave M. David, good to see you on this. What is it? It's a Tuesday night, if I'm not mistaken. My days have blended together. I didn't get into my home until about 3 in the morning earlier today. So it's been a very, very late night and an early morning and all sorts of weird body clock activities occurring. But the Winnipeg Jets started and arrived on time and flushed the effort of yesterday afternoon's disappointment in Calgary. Not a perfect win, but a win nonetheless against the Minnesota Wild.
It was friendly Manitoba versus Minnesota Nice, and I was curious to see if there'd be any shenanigans, and I'm not going to get into the shenanigans where that comes from because Spency already schooled me on that yesterday. Spency is quickly becoming the Daniel Dale of the Illegal Curve hockey show and the Illegal Curve postgame show, although he tried to get me on the hat trick knowledge, and I took him to task on our Instagram. So nice try, Spency, but I got the last laugh. Plus, I have the bully pulpit of here, so you could. I guess he could get the chat against me, but I don't think they'll turn against me. Anyways, get it. Where did I digress to?
I honestly don't know where you just went. You just went off and found a dog with a puffy tail.
I saw Spency and I got excited. But anywho, look, it was an important game, and there was some talk today at the morning media availability with Rick Bowness. It was an optional, highly attended optional with a total of 3 players on the ice: Laurent Brossoit, Logan Stanley, and Rasmus Kupari. And Rick Bowness gave us, of course, an indication that 2 of those. Well, he said there'd be some changes. We knew, and he also confirmed. The only thing he did confirm was that Laurent Brossoit would be starting. We didn't know any of the other changes, other than it seemed likely that both Logan Stanley and Rasmus Kupari would draw in. I know some folks are asking, why did Morgan Barron get pulled? My guess is he's still dealing with illness, because if you'll recall, he didn't play the third period of the game in Vancouver. He did play in Calgary yesterday. So, I mean, that kind of calls into question my theory, but maybe he's still dealing with it. We know that Rick Bowness did say on the road that they were dealing with some guys who were dealing with illness. So it's possible that Morgan Barron wasn't feeling well. He did take the skate. So all 12 guys who played yesterday in Calgary, including Morgan Barron, skated, including Rasmus Kupari. The only guy who wasn't on the ice, of course, was Nate Schmidt. So he was a healthy scratch, and you had Logan Stanley in his place, presumably healthy scratch. It's possible he was dealing with that illness. But at the end of the day, the Jets were able to, get that healthy lineup going, we think. And it seemed like the only change, of course, like I said, being Rasmus Kupari. And it was not a huge move, of course, to just kind of flip him into the fourth line. We weren't certain. There were some questions because there's been a lot of doghouse conversation about Ehlers and Perfetti, and would there be a message sent potentially?
I mean, I understand where that idea came from, but that would have been, that would have been more than just a doghouse. That would have been a napalm-esque explosion.
And just to be clear, all of a sudden
bench those guys.
Well, and just to be clear, it's the narrative. And I mean, we're in the media, so I'm not trying to deride anyone, but at the same time, it's like, that's a media construct, right? Like, it's not, I don't suspect, while he wasn't pleased, the idea of them being in the doghouse was the headline in the Free Press, right? Well, so it's not, he wasn't pleased. He definitely he definitely made mention of what, wasn't happy with, but I'm just saying that it's not like Rick Bowness gave any sort of indication that he was going to have either one of those guys sitting out. So I'm just saying that it's just a little bit, you got to be careful a little bit in terms of narratives. And we talked about it yesterday, right? Everybody was fired up. The Jets have a 3-1 lead. They blow it. They end up losing 6-3 in Calgary yesterday. And I said to Ezzy, I said, like, here's the key. The key is that you've got to remember the fact that the Jets had won 3 games previously. So they'd won 3 of 4. Well, now they've won 4 of 5, if my math stands me correct. So because Ezzy said, look, Ez said, well, if you look, they've lost, I think 6 of the last 9 after yesterday.
So I'm like, as long as you move the goalposts,
you can have a lot of fun with numbers, and we'll hear from Rick Bowness coming up. But the point is that, again, like I said, it wasn't a perfect game.
No,
but you like to see some, like, first of all, Laurent Brossoit, I jokingly said, and it's funny, I said this, and then they scored on him with 4 seconds to go in the power play.
Right.
But he was playing with like a horseshoe because the Wild had some just phenomenal looks, and they shot it wide, they shot it above him, like it was everywhere but at him. So, or the empty net, I should say. So there were a lot of missed opportunities for Minnesota that I'm sure they won't be pleased with. So it wasn't a defensive gem by the Jets, especially in that second period. The first period and the third periods were better. The second period was not their period.
And of course, we'll get into all the goals and we'll get into the nitty gritty of the game throughout during the Betway game recap. But I thought what was interesting about that third period you mentioned, because that second period was just awful for the Winnipeg Jets. They were outplayed, outchanced, out everything in that second period. They were fortunate that the outcome of that second period wasn't worse, to be perfectly honest. Only with each team having scored 1 goal, so the Jets come out of that second period with no blood drawn. But they were, I mean, the ice was just basically tilted for the entirety of that 20 minutes. If it wasn't for Laurent Brossoit, and whether you say it was a combination of horseshoes and quality saves, whatever it was, he certainly was the reason why it was still a 3-1 game for the Jets at that point. So I really was curious to see what Jets team was going to come out in that third period. And yes, they got a little bit away from it, after it became 5-1 there. But the Jets were the better of the two teams in that third period when it counted the most. And I think that was certainly a very good sign for the Winnipeg Jets. This Minnesota Wild team, look, they're not going to say they're not going to make the playoffs, because the bottom of the final playoff spot in the Western Conference, that final wild card team, is not going to be a very good hockey team. It's going to be St. Louis or Nashville. It could be Minnesota. It could be Seattle, Calgary. Still, whichever team it is not a very good hockey team. But Minnesota, what they have. They have the offensive capabilities. That top line of theirs, or any line where they got Kaprizov, and they have Marco Rossi, and both those guys did a ton of damage tonight. And Joel Eriksson Ek is still a very nice player. And
he had like 29 goals or something like that.
Something like that. He's up there. So Minnesota can put the puck in the net. I mean, ask Vancouver. We saw what happened yesterday. Shades of 9-8 between the Jets and the Flyers. 10-7. The Wild won.
7 goals in the third period.
They scored 7 goals in the third period, which is just unheard of, and it's just not a number that you can fathom. Teams, if a team scores 7 goals in a game, it's headline news for weeks on end. But so Minnesota, that they come in waves, and that they have some elite offensive talent, and Kaprizov is one of the best players in the NHL. Marco Rossi was very impressive tonight. The Jets capitalized when they had their opportunities. The goal scoring, the goaltending for the Minnesota Wild, it's not great. The defense for the Minnesota Wild, it's also not great.
Declan Chisholm looked very
well.
Good today.
Played very nice.
I thought he looked good.
Yeah, this Wild team. But you think about their defense. Think about the 6 defensemen that started the game for them, and Zach Bogosian left the game very early. So I
think he took an Ehlers shot.
That's right. So you're talking about Jake Middleton, who great mustache, no question about that. One of the best stashes in the league. I love that. Dakota Mermis. I mean, this is not a guy who's
say it right. M. Remus.
Yeah, exactly. Mermis and Remus, they're related. They're distantly related. Brock Faber, great young defenseman. He's going to be a stud in this league. He's already
a stud. I think he played like 18 minutes after he was. I don't know what he finished at, but
29-20 is what he finished.
Yeah,
with
he was
tonight,
18 minutes after 2 periods, and you knew he was going to be even higher, given obviously Bogosian was done.
That's right. Jonas Brodin, grizzled veteran, I think 12th year in the league, something like that. So he's been, what Jonas Brodin is. The Minnesota Wild are not a great team defensively, and we saw that a lot in tonight's game. And then you add in the Jets power play, which all of a sudden is not a hindrance. It's all of a sudden the Jets power play is a huge asset for this team. With tonight's game, I believe 6 for their last 11 on the power play. And it's not going to continue, of course. You're not going to succeed at a 50%.
They're the hottest power play in the NHL. Red hot.
Well, they are. Right now they are. I mean, this is, multiple games in a row now where they're getting power play goals. And so, their 5-on-5 game for the Jets isn't yet where they want it to be at. But if they can recapture that, and they really have a couple good opportunities coming up Friday against the Chicago Blackhawks and then Sunday against the Arizona Coyotes, two teams that also aren't very good, you should see if you combine that 5-on-5 play or the recapture of that 5-on-5 play with the Jets power play, and I know that the penalty kill isn't going to look great in tonight's game either, giving up a couple power play goals or to the Wild. But you can sort of see that if that power play gets going and that 5-on-5 sort of plays similar to what they did in Vancouver on Saturday night, or in that third period, at least when it was still a game in that third period tonight, then the Winnipeg Jets are going to be back onto something. With tonight's victory, they move ahead of the Colorado Avalanche, even if it's only temporary, having done so. But you can see that
unless they have games in hand, right?
Yeah, you can see that the games, they still have games in hand on the Avs, they have games in hand on the Stars, and you can see that the Jets are beginning to sort of capture themselves, and Sean Monahan is becoming more and more comfortable as a member of the Winnipeg Jets, and boy, has his impact been significant in the last couple games.
Yeah, 5 goals from him in the last 3 games, Drew, and there's nothing boring about that. Jets fans are enjoying him and Gabriel Velarde, who is a beast in tight tonight again, which is, again, that's that spot we've talked about, guys who want to go to the front of the net and be in front of the net. And here's Rick Bowness.
Here's Jets head coach Rick Bowness.
And Mark together because of all the injuries. So, and obviously Sean's been a perfect fit for the bumper. So it's nice to see. You can see the confidence growing with them. The puck's moving, they're making great plays, and the puck's going in the net. So we've waited a long time, but again, it's give the guys credit because they stayed with it, and they just need a little time to build some chemistry.
I don't want to put words into your mouth, but would it be fair to say that you really liked how your team came out and started, probably didn't like so much the second period where Minnesota seemed to really pour it on?
No, we had a really good first. So, but again, that's all self-inflicted in Minnesota. You saw plays at the blue line that we don't normally make, and we're making changes, and they're getting breakaways. So the second period was just really, it was sloppy. It was just bad puck management. But again, give the guys credit because they responded in the third and started to play. But our overall 5-on-5 game it was so good in Vancouver, right, for 60 minutes. We'll get it back.
And then, as you say, in the third period, those 2 goals, and they're in 56 or 58 seconds, they're fairly similar, right, in terms of guys in front, net front, get the tips, points from the shots from the point. Obviously, that you like to see that. You want more from your blue line to kind of add to the offense. Another example of that, I guess.
Yeah, it is. And again, there's timing involved. Sometimes the D are shooting, there's nobody there, and sometimes the forwards are there, they're not getting the puck through. So tonight the timing was much better, and it's good to see it go in because we need offense from our defense. They got to get pucks down there, and when they do, they got to have bodies there, and you got to have some puck luck, and we got it.
Rick, on the power play, it seemed like every time Gabriel Velarde got the puck at the side of the net there, he was making a different read. What did you see out of him in that spot?
He's very good down there, and he's very patient with the puck, and he does see what the options are. So we'll give him a lot of credit because some guys just panic with the puck and they may move it too quick, but he's taking advantage of what they're giving him. If he can walk across and give that little flip, he's taking it. If not, he's making a play to the Mark or back to Sean, and he's always looking for KC that back door. So he's very, very good down by the net, which we saw in training camp. We just haven't had a chance to put them all together.
In the post game, he said he didn't like his lines play at 5-on-5 tonight. What did you see out of the top line?
I didn't like. Yeah, they had a tough couple of shifts. So give them credit; they bounced back.
You said in the past you have nothing to do with this, so I'm going to give you no credit for it. But
What?
You've said in the past that you have nothing to do with this, so I'm going to give you no credit for
Good.
it. Sean Monahan, you talked about what a great fit he's been. What have you thought of Kevin Cheveldayoff in your time here and his ability to go kind of find the guys like Nino and Nemesnikov and Sean? Like, what have you thought of his ability to find the right fit?
That's what he's done. He's done a very good job of finding those guys, and good players, but just as important, good people. And they want to be in Winnipeg, and that's what we love about that. But so give Kevin and his staff a lot of credit for that. They've done a really good job. Sean Monahan's a perfect fit for us. You saw right away last year when Nino and Vladdy came in how easily they fit into the crew. It's a good locker room. It's a good dressing room, and they make everyone feel welcome. You got to bring the right guys in with the right temperament and the right abilities, and then Chevy's done that. So give him a lot of credit.
A lot of times power plays are about moving the puck around and opening up certain things. I thought tonight each spot looked dangerous at points. Like Mark got a good shot off, Casey got a good shot off, Josh leads to that goal. What is your power play doing that it's looking dangerous, not just in one or two spots, but in all five?
Well, a lot of it has to do with Sean. He watches the reads he makes. He knows when to be high, which opens up a shot. He knows when to go low, which opens up KC. So he's making the right reads. But there's a big difference now when they're just moving the puck and they're taking what the penalty killers are giving them. Because we do have lots of options, and we're still, KC's a big threat over there. So they got to cheat on him a little bit, which opens up some of the other options.
And you like to use your third line to kind of capture momentum, turn momentum. Their first shift of the game, they did it. First shift of the third period, they come out, they score that second goal. What was your thoughts today on where they're at? Maybe dipped a little bit mid-season, but where do you think they are right now in their ability to drive momentum for your team?
Well, their job is to play against the top line, and they did a great job on that tonight. They're the other team at that top line on Minnesota. They got some great talent over there, and they had chances when Adams' line wasn't on the ice. So, but they're doing that. We always like to come back with them right after we score or they score. Like, this is a very reliable line. They're a heavy line. They're hard to play against, and they have played very well against Minnesota. That line, so you go back to the last couple of games, they've scored some big goals against Minnesota. So they rise to the challenge.
Rick, Laurent Brossoit hasn't played in a long time. What did you see out of him? 36 saves.
He was outstanding. I mean, some of those saves he made in the second one, we got a little loose. He was the difference. He kept us in the game and let us get our game back, which we did in the third. So, again, give the guys credit. But when you're not playing well and we're getting a little loose, then he made the big saves. We talk a lot about timely goals, timely saves. He made enough tonight.
Just one on your personnel tonight. Were Nate and Morgan healthy scratches, or are they dealing with?
Yes, they're healthy scratches. But and those are tough calls because we got with looking ahead, you look at the schedule of 16 games coming up. Logan Stanley has played well enough to get back in there. We're not going to let him sit for weeks like we did before. He played well enough in the 3 games that he played to get back in there, trying to get Coop back into the game. So they weren't healthy scratch because of bad play at all. That had absolutely nothing to do with it. It was more what the team has to come first. And when you look at our schedule that's coming up, we want to keep everybody involved.
And just on that, was Rasmus okay? Because it looked like you went down to kind of 11 forwards.
Yeah, I had it. That's on me. That's not on him. I had a tough time getting him in there. So that's not on him. That's on me. Thanks.
Thank you.
Jets head coach Rick Bowness, that from the Matt Frost Media Center, just concluding his post-game comments. Big thanks, of course, to Colby Spence, photographer, videographer extraordinaire, who does all sorts of fantastic work for us here at Illegal Curve. And, of course, our friends at Rumors Comedy Club as well is where Colby also does some great work. So be sure to be following his Instagram account. Jets head coach Rick Bowness, I mean, again, not a lot that I'm surprised about there. He says that both Morgan Barron and Nate Schmidt are healthy scratches for tonight's game, which I guess was the question mark. But you know what, I thought Logan Stanley, and I've never admittedly been the biggest Logan Stanley fan, but I thought he was a fine addition to the Jets back end for tonight's game. I thought he acquitted himself very well. Dave, just comment on Logan Stanley's game before we move into the Betway game recap here on the Illegal Curve post game show.
Yeah, I mean, he was fine. It's funny. I jokingly tweeted during the second period that Kitchener boys stand up for each other after he went after Middleton.
Yeah, I like that.
And again, it's funny how people tend to forget. And I was listening to Kyle Connor talk on 32 Thoughts. It was from when he was at the NHL All-Star game, but they released it today or yesterday. And he was just talking about how much slower the game is. And when you have the benefit of hindsight and replays and this, it's a different element than it is when you're playing the game. And, everybody's played the game to some degree. But the point I'm making is that we watched what happened in Middleton. When you see the initial play, you think, oh, Middleton just plowed Scheifele in the numbers into the boards. Scheifele goes down. And I mean, I could see from the TV that, Middleton puts his hand on his back, but Logan Stanley doesn't see that. Logan Stanley just sees, Scheifele down in a heap and Middleton standing over him or kind of hunched over him. So, I mean, that's why you credit him for coming to the defense of one of the Jets' top players. So you like that. You like the fact, I mean, he kind of took it a little bit. Middleton is a tough guy, pride of Alberta. So, although interestingly, he played in the OHL. Talking to our good friend Richard Lapp, the hockey maven, and he was asking me, and I said, well, I don't know. And it turned out he played in the OHL, which, for an Alberta boy, I thought he played a WHL guy, but he ended up going to the OHL. But anyways, this isn't wild lunch right now, and I don't want Spency to be mad at me, Drew. So, yeah, I thought Logan Stanley played well, and he's played 4 of the last 6 games for the Jets. Obviously, the 3 games that Brendan Dillon was injured, was suspended, and then he missed when Dillon came back on the road trip for Vancouver and Calgary. But so he's getting a little bit more rhythm. And I think that's what Rick Bowness was talking about with guys not staying out of the lineup and keeping them engaged and part of the team and stuff like that. So, and it makes a lot of sense because you really don't want these guys to be cold. Like we're seeing what happens when guys are absent from the line, like David Gustafsson, who for some reason people thought was going to be one of the potential recalls. I'm like, I'm not joking. And this isn't a knock on David Gustafsson. I watched that Moose game yesterday.
Yeah.
And between the first period and the third period, at one point I said, is he on the bench? Because I didn't know he was in the game. My point is it takes a bit of time. He hadn't played since December 22nd. This was just his, I believe, 3rd game yesterday. So it takes a little bit of time for these guys to get their legs back sometimes. And so I think keeping these guys in, it keeps everybody fresh, right? Like if you have guys,
keeps everybody sharp, keeps everybody in rotation.
But and also if you keep, again, like I said, like you could say it's a harsh thing. But at the same time, it's fairly marginal differences, right? Like, are you noticing a significant drop off between Nate Schmidt? It's one thing if you were doing this with Dylan DeMello,
sure,
but you're not, or Josh Morrissey, but you're not. You're doing it with Nate Schmidt, who's already pretty much your 6th defenseman, and you're replacing him with your 7th defenseman. So it's not a significant drop off for this. And I suspect maybe to a certain degree, even with Marcus Foligno out of the lineup and without Pat Maroon. And the Wild, again, it's funny because like I started the show off, Drew, by talking about the shenanigans.
Yeah.
I know we got to get into the Betway game recap because we do have a lot of goals to go over, but I'll be quick.
That we do.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because for a long time, we've been talking about 1-goal games, 2-goal games. And then now the Jets are just scoring and scoring and scoring. So the drought is over. It went from famine to feast rather quickly. But again, like I said, it's just, you have these guys who are, again, like I said, they're fairly interchangeable. And you can get them into the lineup, and it's an important thing. So it's good for the Jets that they're doing that. And I thought Stanley was fine, but I just don't think it's going to be a significant. You didn't. Again, Rasmus Kupari came in for Morgan Barron, and I like Morgan Barron, and I think Morgan Barron. In fact, I was actually of the mind, if he was healthy, that Morgan Barron could be moving up in the lineup, not down or out of it. So, anyways, but I just think it's a good thing to give these guys some opportunities. And again, you keep guys fresh. Like that's the whole idea. Keep guys fresh for the playoffs. That's what you want. You don't want to overtax these guys. I mean, that to me was what they did last year. You remember last year where they wanted Brendan Dillon to play 82 games, and I was like, well, why? Why did he have to get that 82nd game in?
Well, you have to, last year, you've banked the points, so you have a little bit more of that flexibility this year,
right?
That you don't,
that's right.
that you didn't have at the end of the regular season last year.
Yeah.
And time will tell, of course, how that plays out over the final 30 plus games here of the regular season. As you mentioned, Dave, plenty of goals to get to, so let's get into it. It's the Betway game recap here on the Illegal Curve postgame show.
The Betway game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Betway for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. If you're looking for a place to safely and responsibly make a wager, we strongly encourage you to check out our friends at Betway. Tell them, of course, that Illegal Curve sent you. You want to see how the Jets started this game after the disappointing result in Calgary yesterday. Both teams, second half of back-to-backs, both teams with travel. So they're on equal footing when it comes to that aspect of the game. Couple early chances for the Minnesota Wild in the first few minutes of this game. Ryan Hartman, after an Adam Lowry turnover. Ryan Hartman with a good chance. Marcus Johansson, a player I always liked, and he also had a good chance. Brendan Dillon for the Jets. He had that golden opportunity off of Mason Appleton redirection. But he sort of he gets his stick tied up, I believe, by Brock Faber, if I'm not mistaken, and he heals it. Doesn't get full wood on it. Not that they use wood sticks anymore, but you know what I mean.
I'm like, easy, Grandpa.
That's right. Sorry, I'm aging myself. He heals the puck rather than getting the full blade on it, redirects it wide. So chances at both ends for for both teams. The Jets do open the scoring. It's a power play goal for the Winnipeg Jets. It comes after a strong.
Wait, it's a what, Drew?
It's a power play goal. Not something that it is. That's not rare to hear anymore, Dave. That we expect to say that now. It comes after a strong shift by Niederreiter, Lowry, and Appleton. It leads to a Declan Chisholm hooking penalty, and with Declan in the box, Gabe Vilardi getting his 14th of the year, assist to Kyle Connor and Josh Morrissey. This comes at the 9:20 mark of the power play. It's Morrissey to Connor. He one-times the pass, and he doesn't one-time it right onto the blade of the stick blade, at least, of Gabe Vilardi. He one-times it onto the skate blade of Gabe Vilardi, and redirecting the puck in with your skate, as long as it's not a distinct kicking motion, is permissible nowadays, and he does so, redirecting it into the empty net, and the Jets have an early 1-0 lead about halfway through the first period, Dave.
Well, first of all, before we even start talking about Gabriel Vilardi's goal, we have to talk about Gabriel Vilardi's choice of hair, Drew. I'm surprised you're not talking about it, because he went with, well, I actually had said
he went with the Mindell. He decided to adopt the Mindell.
I said he went with the Christian Vesalainen, because folks will remember Christian Vesalainen, of course, shaved his head. And when I said that in the press box, Weber looked at me and he kind of said, like, here. So I think Kenny Weeb thought he was maybe the inspiration for Gabriel Vilardi's decision to shave his head, but he shaved his head. I thought it was notable. I took note of it on the during the anthems, and so he had a new look, and that new look served him well. Obviously, in this game, he had a significant presence. But look, I mean, look, what have we been talking about? Now, the Jets 5-on-5 play has definitely taken a bit of a hit of late. Has not been a strong 5-on-5 team, but we said one of the things this team has to improve is their power play. It just has to. And the reason you acquired Sean Monahan was because of his prowess on the power play with the man advantage. And we're seeing it. We're seeing the impact. You can see the way he sees the game. And again, like I was saying earlier, him and Gabriel Vilardi, guys who go to the front of the net, aren't with the talent, with the hands. Like, it's one thing to have a big guy in front of the net, but it doesn't have the hands. These guys are big and they have the hands. So that's a significant advantage. And you can see the way these guys are all, and we're talking 5 games into his time, I'm jumping back to Monahan now, but you can see how quickly they're getting used to each other. And like I was saying, it's only been 5 games with these guys getting to used to each other, but it's a big play. And again, it's more one of those situations, Drew, that you wanted to see. The Jets crowd needed them to have a good start. And so, yeah, I mean, it's excellent on the power play. It's a nice slap pass by Kyle Connor, and Gabriel Vilardi's in the right place at the right time. And that to me is the key, right? Right place, right time, goal, back of the net, 1-0 Jets.
The power play, I mean, when it was struggling, and boy, it was struggling for a long time. It was so slow. There's way more movement in the power play now. You see just Monahan, sometimes he's in the bumper position, but he's sort of lower down in the bumper position. And then he quickly will move up higher in the bumper position. And just that simple movement, so like a stick hockey, like a table hockey player, just sort of moving back and forth vertically, up and back, just keeps the defense guessing as to where the play is going to go. And then feeding it down to Velarde and working it through Velarde at the side of the net. He has so many options available to him that if they play passive off of him, well, he can walk out and be dangerous. And if they play strong on him, well, he can feed it off to somebody else who's now going to be open. So right now, the Jets power play with the movement and the ability to sort of use all 5 men as dangerous weapons, where you have to respect all 5 of them and their capabilities, is right now working so well and making the Jets a very dangerous team to play against and a dangerous team to take penalties against. 1-0 for the Jets at the 9:20 mark. And of course, the next goal is a salute to our good friend Dennis Bayak. And what the heck, he hasn't scored very often this year. We might as well make it our Seagram shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
Now into double digits. Mason Appleton makes it 2-0 12 seconds later. 14 seconds later. It's our Seagram shot of the game. It's the proverbial bump up shift that our buddy Kevin Sawyer likes to talk about a lot on the broadcast. The Jets win the faceoff off the draw and they gain the zone. Lowry behind the net feeds it out to Mason Appleton, and Appleton, it's on and off his stick really quickly. This isn't the best goal. This isn't one that Marc-Andre Fleury should let in, but we said it in the preamble of the broadcast of the post-game show. Goaltending and defense, those have been the issues for the Minnesota Wild this year. Mason Appleton, it's a nice shot. It's short side. It's top corner. Should it be saved? Yeah, it probably should be saved. But nonetheless, 14 seconds after Gabe Velarde made it 1-0, Mason Appleton makes it 2-0 for the Winnipeg Jets, Dave. Assist to Lowry and Niederreiter, as that line was noticeable and influential all game long.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about the importance of getting contributions up and down the lineup. Like, it's one thing if you get power play goals from Velarde and Monahan and Scheifele and Connor. Obviously, they weren't all power play goals, but I'm just saying if it's important, but it's really important to get those contributions from guys like Mason Appleton, who I thought actually has been playing. I know he's been a bit of a whipping boy of late, but I thought he was noticeable in the game. I don't know if it was the game against Vancouver. You hope it wasn't against the game against Calgary, because not too many guys were noticeable in a positive way. But I thought he was noticeable either in the Vancouver game or the San Jose game here in Winnipeg last Wednesday. But he's been, he's been, like I said, a bit of a whipping boy, and you were hoping that if you're Mason Appleton, that things were going to change. And you like that the Jets didn't sit back. That's the other thing, right? You want to talk about bump up shift. You wanted to see an aggressive mindset, and that's what the Jets did in that first period. And so, yeah, they took it to him. And I thought Adam Lowry was sending a lot of messages in today's game. And I don't know, again, sometimes obviously I'm in the press box for the first 2 periods, so I don't know what folks sometimes see if they catch it, certain things on the replay or not. But Lowry was sending a lot of messages in today's game. Like, there was one instance that I'm recalling where I don't remember. It was Hartman, and Hartman hit one of the Jets, and then you're muted, Drew. And then and I didn't mute you because my hands are over here. But
sorry, I was coughing, so I muted myself.
Okay, but anyway, but then at the end of the shift, Lowry took a turn to go to the Jets bench, made sure he accidentally on purpose bumped Hartman, let him know he was there. And I just think it's one of those things that Lowry does. That's a quiet leadership thing that you can see from number 17. So even when he doesn't get on the scoreboard, and today I think he had 2 assists, I believe he should have been credited with 2 assists because he set up Appleton and he obviously set up Niederreiter.
2 assists, that's right.
Yeah, so it's one of those plays that you give the captain credit, because points are important, but he also does a lot of other things that we saw it in the hit in the game against Vancouver that really seemed to change the tenor of the hockey game. And again, throughout the course of this game, I thought he made a lot of good plays.
He's not going to stand by and let anybody try and bully the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, and that's what you're seeing from him. And I thought even, he had a number of good scoring opportunities as well, in addition to sort of setting the tone. And he had a couple of strong net drives in the course of today's game. Saves were made on these, but he was noticeable. He was present for all the right reasons, and that's what you want from the Winnipeg Jets captain. Look, Adam Lowry's never going to be a dominant offensive force, but he can certainly be, sort of like Andrew Ladd was in his time as Jets captain. He can sort of set the tone for the
tone
team
setter
early in the game. And this was another instance where I thought you saw him do that. He gets on the board with the 2 assists in tonight's game, as you referenced. But when he's impactful early, the rest of the team sort of feeds upon that, and it's a good thing for the Winnipeg Jets, and it's a good first period for the Winnipeg Jets. They get outshot 11-8, but more importantly, they outscore the Minnesota Wild by that 2-0 margin, and that's where they lead after 20 minutes is by that 2-0 score, and that's where the Jets wanted to be against the Minnesota Wild team that the Jets have had success against this year, certainly, and a team that knows how to put the puck in the net. So the Jets wanted to get that early
What
lead.
did they say the Jets drew against them 3-0 this season?
I think they're now 3-0. I think the first 2 games were the 30th and 31st, right? The 2 December games. Weren't those the first 2 games
I
of
believe
the year?
So. Yeah, because we thought it was peculiar that it took so long for them to face Minnesota this season. So,
but it's funny, and this is an aside, and this is sort of something I've been thinking about. If I was the schedule maker, and clearly I'm not the schedule maker, I would do away with having 2 games a year against each Eastern Conference team. I think 1 game a year is more than enough, so that that the Jets can play the Hurricanes, so that a team like the Carolina Hurricanes, a team with all due respect to them, a great hockey team, they don't draw. Nobody in Winnipeg is that excited to see the Carolina Hurricanes. So if they came to Winnipeg every second year instead of every year, so if you only played 16 games a year against the Eastern Conference instead of 32, and then you added more divisional rivalry games, that's something I think the NHL should look for, because who doesn't want to see more Jets Wild games, or Jets Stars games, or Jets Avalanche games where teams really can foster that dislike for one another? I think that's an opportunity to sort of make the regular season more engaging, more games against your division, more games against your conference opponents, and fewer games against the other conference, so that so that Alex Ovechkin in his prime, he doesn't come to Winnipeg every year, but he comes every 2 years. Or Crosby, and I know that people want to see Crosby all the time.
Crosby, everyone wants to see him every year, but
I know there's trade-offs to this, but I think more divisional games, and this is a relatively easy way to make it happen. But no one's asking me. This is just, like I said, a bit of a tangent I wanted to throw in there as we were talking about
I mean, I didn't ask you specifically, but I was curious about what you had to say, Drew.
Well, there you go. Thank you for humoring me and for interesting me, or being interested in my comments. 2-0 for the Jets. They make it 3-0. 1:54 into the second period, and it's Kyle Connor with the goal. But we have to talk about the Dylan DeMello save that is the precursor to this goal, because he makes an absolute beauty of a kick save and a shot block off of, I believe it was Declan Chisholm again, if I'm not mistaken, after 2 chances. Marcus Johansson, had a good chance, and then Chisholm had a wide open net. And if it wasn't for Dylan DeMello and his acrobatic save on this one, it's probably a 2-1 game. Instead, what happens? The Jets get a clean zone entry into the Wild zone, led by Gabe Vilardi. His cross ice pass is onto the stick of Kyle Connor. Mark Scheifele is strong with his net drive, taking a defender with him, and Connor is able to beat Marc-Andre Fleury with the goal, a much-needed goal for Kyle Connor at even strength, I might add, his 20th of the season. Assist to Vilardi, assist to DeMello, and it's almost like DeMello gets both an assist on the goal and a goal for saving a goal at the other end of the ice in the course of this sequence. But it's 3-0 for the Jets at this point, Dave.
Yeah, and it's the 7th straight season that Kyle Connor has hit 20 goals, which, it's kind of remarkable given the fact that he had, 17 or whatever it was in 26, and looked like he was well on pace to at least 50 easily, and rather easily for him, I should say, not easy for me, and possibly 60 this season. But I mean, he is fairly automatic, despite what you might believe on Sportsnet, though, Drew. He does get assists as well as goals.
You complained about that on Saturday's post-game show already.
I know. I'm rubbing it in. I think it's rather, because I thought it was funny because in yesterday's game, he had 2 primary assists. So I was like, well, I mean, what's he doing getting assists? Doesn't he know he's only a goal scorer? By the way, so many of you are in the chat right now. I want to see lots of likes. I want to see lots of subscribers. We're approaching 6,000 folks. Today could be the day that we get up and over that 6,000 mark. Just remember, the reason why
as he's going to go streaking when that happens, folks. So, you can really get excited about that.
The reasons you subscribe to this channel is because not only do you get to enjoy these post-game shows and the Saturday show every Saturday at 9:00, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, that is.
Yes.
But we have all the Jets content, all the Moose content that I get for you almost every single day. There's not really any other sources of it. The Jets post it and we post it. Some other organizations clip it. We give you it everything. So there's
all Dave asks from you in return is to smash the like button. That's all the poor man wants. Is just he wants you to subscribe and to smash the like button. It's
be like Brent.
Too much.
Be like Brent. And I don't mean an excellent architect, which he is. But if you want to be that, then you have to go to school and you can do that. But he got a YouTube account just so he could subscribe to IC. So that's we appreciate that from Brent. We appreciate that from all of you, even if you don't have an account and you smash the like button. We appreciate all of that. Anyways, Kyle Connor, he needed that goal. 7 straight seasons, 20 goals by him. And look, his play since he's been back, and we talked about this a little bit, I think, on Saturday, Drew, but his play since he's been back has been inconsistent. There's been some, it's amazing. I as talented as Kyle Connor is, watching him glide back to the defensive zone is just and remember, again, it's easy when we're in the press box and we're looking down and we can watch the players and play develop, but it's amazing how talented he is when he's sniffing a puck and he's going at the net, and he's got an amazing shot. Let's be realistic. His release is lethal. I believe it was funny because I think ESPN, the folks can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he was voted the 9th best winger in the NHL. And then some exec said he's not even the best winger on the Jets. So players think he's one of the best wingers in the NHL, and an exec said otherwise. So not that an executive just because he's an executive means that has any knowledge or anything like that.
There's been plenty of stupid executives, is what you're saying.
That's right. So anywho, it was a big goal by Kyle Connor, and again, that line getting a 5-on-5 goal was important.
3-0 for the Jets early in the second period, and then the rest of the second period, with the exception of the Mark Scheifele breakaway followed by the subsequent Gabe Vilardi save by Marc-Andre Fleury, it was controlled by the Minnesota Wild. The Jets.
That was a great play, but Drew, just quickly, that was a fantastic play by Scheifele defensively in the Jet zone. Makes a great read, anticipates it, forces a turnover, creates a breakaway for himself. And it's just amazing. It actually is amazing, though, in terms of sequence, right? Because it's a 3-0 game. He scores 4-0. It's basically over at that point. Gabriel Vilardi has a great chance. He scores. It's over. And instead he gets what you're about to announce.
Instead, he gets a high sticking penalty, and he heads to the penalty box, and the Minnesota Wild power play goes to action. And the Wild power play has been a successful one this year. Sort of middle of the pack, but when you talk about some of the talent they trot out there, as we've referenced some of the names, with Marco Rossi, with Kirill Kaprizov, with Joel Eriksson Ek, with I can keep going. I don't need to rattle off their entire power play units. It's a dangerous power play. Marco Rossi makes the Jets pay. It's his 16th of the year. It comes at the 14-10 mark of the second period. Assist to Declan Chisholm and Freddie Gaudreau, or Frederick Gaudreau, I suppose. Chisholm looking very comfortable as a member of the Minnesota Wild. Rossi has just got too much time and too much space here, and he's too talented. Neil Pionk is sort of occupied at the side of the net. The Jets, I think, get a little bit out of position because Rossi shouldn't be this wide open inside of the face-off dot. So he's pretty low down in a pretty good shooting position, and he wires the shot underneath the glove and above the pad of Laurent Brossoit. Brossoit making so many really fine saves in that second period as he was peppered with 17 shots against. The shots were 17-6 for the Wild. And I know shots can sometimes mislead as to the pace of play. These were not misleading numbers. The Wild controlled the second period And if it wasn't for the play and the performance of Laurent Brossoit, it very easily could have been much closer than a 3-1 game, including a save that he made right at the buzzer of that second period. The Jets really hanging on for dear life. But Rossi is the one who gets the Wild on the board at the 14-10 mark on the power play.
Well, and look, you don't love this goal against Laurent Brossoit. I mean, I think he just didn't have a great angle there.
I don't have a problem with the goal against really on this one. I mean, I thought it was a pretty good shot. In a pretty different, in a pretty well placed position as well, above the, below the glove, above the pad. That's a pretty well placed shot from my perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it is like, look, they're loaded on the left side, and then I'm just saying he's shooting unobstructed from about 10 feet out. So I mean, it's a good shot. You give him credit, and he's an excellent player. I mean, he was drafted. Was he not drafted 11th overall right after Cole Perfetti, I believe?
Sounds right. Yeah,
I want to say he was 11th overall, but and he was one of those guys. I think for a while they were flirting with. Would he be a top 5 pick or a top 10 pick? So a good young player. The Wild let him play in Iowa for, I believe, 2 seasons before they got him back up. And it's funny because remember, everybody goes bust. And he also didn't he get sick and had to stay home? I believe
he had a serious illness and missed almost half a year, if I recall.
Right. And he's Slovakian, if I recall correctly, right? Or
Swiss,
not Slovakian. Is he? Swiss, but he's somewhere in Europe. But the point is, this isn't a geography class there, Drew.
Austrian.
There we go. We're both wrong. Anyways,
yeah, we're both wrong.
Spency, where was your fact checking on that one, buddy? Come on, let's go. Anyways, this is sorry, Drew. I forgot you weren't on the show yesterday. Spency decided to become our fact checker because Ezzy and I were definitely off our game. But the point is, he is from somewhere in Europe, and he was over in Europe because he had a bit of an illness that he was dealing with, and then came back, and he's an excellent young player. So Phyllis wants to know who we're talking about. We're talking about Marco Rossi.
Yeah, or myocarditis he had a during
isn't that what what did you say it was?
Myocarditis is what he had, which was a side effect of or a ramification from when he got COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So he was, it's something that was certainly not uncommon, but it sidelined him for 4 months, which obviously would have impacted his life significantly. So great to see that he has recouped from that and is really turning into the great young player that he was expected to be for the Minnesota Wild. Because he was certainly noticeable in tonight's game. He had 2 goals and really almost had a hat trick. If he had got that hat trick, would have made it 5-4. If I'm correct, it was before the Jets 6-3. Mm-hmm. So Laurent Brossoit really squeezed the pads at an opportune time because he was very close to getting that hat trick goal, which would have made it 5-4, and then it's anybody's game at that point.
It could have been very easily. That's why I think you've said it, and I will reiterate the point that you made earlier, Drew, is that you've got to give Laurent Brossoit a ton of credit. The Jets were outshot. I think it was either 17-6 or 16-6 in that second period. I think I wrote 1, but I think they either added or reduced the assist marker. But regardless, they got heavily outshot in that second period, and Laurent Brossoit was the difference maker. Otherwise, that game was most likely, that 3-1 goal. I mean, think about how critical that is, right? It's 3-1 with about, when did they get that? With about 4 minutes? How much was time left? It was
there were just over 5 minutes left in the second period.
So 5:50 was left in the second period. So, I mean, if they get another one in that period, you're a little tight. The Jets are going to be a little bit tight, right? And and I'm just saying, and there were a couple of opportunities for them, more than a couple of opportunities. So you like the way that Laurent Brossoit was playing. He looked confident in the net, and that's a big win for him.
Well, remember, because Marco Rossi, speaking of him further, that Jets had that terrible line change, and Kyle Connor had that giveaway, and that Rossi came in all alone on a breakaway. This was later in the second period, after the Wild had already cut it to 3-1, and Laurent Brossoit made. I mean, think about that save. If Laurent Brossoit doesn't make that save, it's a 3-2 game late in the second period. Anything can happen at that point in time. So, Laurent Brossoit certainly did his best Connor Hellebuck impression in keeping the Jets in the game in that second period when the team really struggled and really had a lot of difficulty at 5-on-5 as the Wild controlled a lot of the play through that middle frame.
Well,
Sorry, go
no,
ahead.
just before we get in there, did you notice that, like, I don't know if they showed it or talked about it on the broadcast, but I thought it was rather peculiar. Did you notice that they completely missed a too many men on the Wild?
I didn't. I saw your tweet, but I didn't see it.
Okay, because like it was pretty overt. Like there were 3 guys. The only reason why I think they didn't call it was because they were fairly spread out. There were 3 guys in the neutral zone closer to the Wild blue line, and then there were 3 guys in the Jets zone. And I'm like counting. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm doing some basic math here. There's 6 guys on the ice for a bit, and yet no call. But nobody seemed to notice it. Nobody seemed to protest. So play continued.
As long as Eagle Eyes Manuk kept a close watch on it. That's
I had a lot of carrots
part.
as a kid, Drew.
I know. That's good. I did too. It didn't do me any good, as you can clearly see with my spectacles on.
I can clearly
on my
see,
head.
Drew.
Yeah, here. Touche. 3-1 for the Jets after 40 minutes. We say good evening to everyone. This is the Betway game recap. Drew Mandel, Dave Manuk with you, talking about the Jets' 6-3 victory over the Minnesota Wild in tonight's contest. A very important win for the Jets to bounce back after the defeat against the Calgary Flames earlier yesterday. The Jets in action Friday next against the Chicago Blackhawks. So Friday, Sunday, Blackhawks and Coyotes, and of course the Illegal Curve Hockey Show on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Jets make it 4-1. They get that insurance marker. You wondered how were they going to come out in that third period? Well, they came out rejuvenated in that third period. They were the better of the 2 teams early in that third period, and the Jets' dangerous power play strikes again. Gabe Vilardi, his 15th of the year, second of the game. Assist to Josh Morrissey and Kyle Connor at the 9:38 mark of the third period. This one is with Ryan Hartman in the box for holding, so you know it feels doubly sweet. Hartman and Scheifele were jawing back and forth. They jawed before a face-off. They were jawing during a face-off. They were jawing a little bit after the face-off. Scheifele won the battle when the puck was dropped, and Scheifele and Hartman were going head-to-head against each other in a puck battle. Scheifele won that battle and resulted in Hartman taking a penalty, and you know it was very satisfying for the Jets to capitalize on this with Hartman in the box after all the controversy, depending.
What was that word, Drew?
It's something that I think my wife likes to say, controversy, just joking, so I like to throw it out there every now and then.
You know, but the problem is when you have a joke like that,
I know
it's it was a little bit esoteric.
I know. I got to tell you, Dave, like I said, 3 a.m. is when I went to bed. So things are really spiraling down. My voice is going on me. For everyone who's saying, why do I look so orange? I was
away. By the way, shout out to Cole Anderson for letting us know it was Rossi was taken 9th overall. So
there you go.
Perfetti was one after. I said one one after Perfetti. It's one before Perfetti. There you go.
So the reason I look orange is because I was not self-tanning. I was not faking and baking. I was down south for the weekend. Just updating you on my orangey glow. Anyways, Vilardi, his 15th assist to Morrissey and Connor. Hartman in the box, and the Jets win that battle. It's a clean face-off win by Sean Monahan. It's Josh Morrissey over to Kyle Connor. Connor back to Morrissey off of his stick very quickly, and just a fantastic tip by Gabe Vilardi. I mean, to have the eye-hand coordination, to have the skill set and the soft hands to make this play, it is the deft touch of Gabe Vilardi that gives the Jets a 4-1 lead halfway through, just before the halfway mark of the third period, Dave.
Yeah, and you could see right away he was giving credit to Josh Morrissey for putting that shot right where he could tip that puck. And again, it comes down to one thing: he's in the right place. I mean, with Gabriel Vilardi, and Rick Bowness was asked about that today, about his presence around the net and just how good he is. And you can see it. You can really sense it. And Gabriel Vilardi said it to us kind of jokingly, although I don't know that he jokes that often, but you know, when we had a media availability with him before that road trip, And he said, I think all my goals are within 5 feet of the net. And you talk about that, right, Drew? The idea that he's in the right place at the right time. So, I mean, again, he was a bit, he like a lot of the team were having a drought, right? They were all going through a slow period, trying to get going. And he sure seems to have gotten going. The Macarena was playing. The crowd was amped because look, this is a, oh, look at this. Hold on. Should we play the music? No, I think you already butchered it. Not that I was any Macarena aficionado. But
my problem is I can't. I got my microphone so close here that I don't really have full arm movement because otherwise I'd really get into it. And then I do the whole twist and the turn and I shake my booty a little bit for the camera. But I don't think anybody wants to see that.
Drew, I said we want to get to 6,000 subscribers. I said I don't want to lose 6,000 subscribers. Anywho, so you got to give Vilardi credit. I mean, he's just, again, like Monahan, great presence around the front of the net, and he tips that home. And the Jets get the exact sort of thing. You had a goal with Hartman in the box, and not to undersell it, but the crowd was into it. The crowd was having a good time. I mean, sure. You talk about that idea
Thank you, Hartman chant.
Thank you, Hartman chant.
That's funny. That's old school. That's old school Jets 2.0, snark coming from the 300 section. I love that. Hartman, public enemy number one, he screws up and then you capitalize on the goal and then the crowd really digs in the knife a little bit deeper. That's a great job by the crowd at the downtown arena tonight.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, so these kind of games you talk about it, and I that's what I always joke: friendly Manitoba, Minnesota nice, or not so friendly Manitoba, not Minnesota, not so nice. Like it is a good rivalry. It's a lot of fun. The only thing that I was happy about was that Minnesota is, I think, they were coming into today's game 7-2-1 and 2 points back of St. Louis for a playoff spot. So the Jets once again could potentially send the Wild careening out of the building and potentially out of the playoffs. Drew, and we talked about it a little bit, but yeah, I mean, look, it's a fun rivalry, but that was it. Captain Obvious. It was a huge goal for Vilardi, and it was a huge goal to really get the crowd going and to give the Jets that sort of momentum back that they had lost in the second period.
Yeah, and then they extend that momentum 58 seconds later. It's Sean Monahan. It's an even strength goal. It's another tip. Dylan DeMello and Nikolai Ehlers with the assists on this one. Again, it starts with that clean face-off win, and I don't want to put, I'm just recapping it because I know that face-offs are not the be-all and end-all, but when they are so noticeable, you have to make mention of them. And this was another one of those instances. The Jets move the puck well. They're moving it around the net. They move it from low to high, and again, it gets onto the stick of Dylan DeMello, and he gets his second assist of the game. And Monahan in that slot, in that high slot, getting the tip on the puck, and the Wild were hoping that it was a high stick, but there was no such high stick being called on this one. That made it 5-1 for the Jets, and they're feeling real good about themselves in the latter half of the second period.
And while it wasn't as bang bang as the first period goal, it's it's 2 goals back to back, relatively speaking. But the one thing, even though he's had a rough time, and Nikolai Ehlers has been the subject of a lot of conversation, and his entries today were not good in any way, shape, or form on the power play. Like they stalled out. He was passing to people that weren't there. So Nikolai Ehlers is fighting the puck right now. There's no question about it. You can't watch his game and not think that there's just something is slightly off. And again, I'm not prepared to, you don't just send him away. He's a dynamic hockey player, and guys go through stretches where they're not feeling it, or it's not happening for them right now. That appears to be the case for Nikolai Ehlers, but this is a Nikolai Ehlers, the characteristic Nikolai Ehlers play, because he uses his biggest asset, his speed. Mm-hmm. And so he uses his speed along the wall to feed DeMello that puck. And again, that's part of what we've talked about for the importance of this Jets team, is using speed. And so he uses it, gets it over to DeMello. DeMello fires it over. And yeah, you got to give, it's the exact, I mean, you may as well just have everyone pause what we're talking about right now, go back in time 5 minutes to me talking about Vilardi in front of the net, and give Monahan that. I mean, he's very deft with his touch. And so he puts that home, and now it's 5-1. And then the party's happening. And I will say, let me just dial it back 1 second, Drew, because there was a potential problem with a 3-1 game. The fans, and I could hear it because, of course, for the third period, I'm back home.
The wave.
I could hear the wave. Now I am not anti-wave. I'm kind of secretly anti-wave, but I don't deride the wave because people are entitled. Those who pay money, this is my new policy. Those who pay money get to decide what they want to do at a hockey game. So they want to do the wave.
Yeah.
They can do the wave. I don't think the wave is great in a close game. At 5-1, if you wanted to do the wave, that I like. 3-1, probably not at the best time, especially after the second period. But credit to the Jets fans. They read the room. 3-1 wave, and the Jets now suddenly have a 5-1 lead shortly after the wave. So Hustler, who is publicly anti-wave, he has to own that because the Jets fans, the wave brought the energy, and the Jets players maybe used it as momentum to get to that 5-1 score.
Yeah, the Wild did cut into that lead, and they made it a little bit interesting later in that third period. 5-2, Kirill Kaprizov on the power play, assist to Joel Eriksson-Ek and Matt Zuccarello, another nice player for the Minnesota Wild that I hadn't mentioned on the post-game show just yet. Beautiful pass by Eriksson-Ek, the saucer pass over the sprawled out Brendan Dillon, right onto the stick of Kirill Kaprizov. And he is such a talented player, and I don't think he necessarily gets enough credit just yet for how good he actually is. The Minnesota Wild, they've been they're a fringe playoff team this year. Last year they were similar. They got bounced early last year. Kirill Kaprizov is such a driving force on that team, just a tremendous hockey player. And Marco Rossi, who we've spent a lot of this post-game show praising, he gets a tip of the Kaprizov point shot. Those two goals coming within a minute 38 of each other. It was a game where goals came in succession. They came 14 seconds apart. They came 58 seconds apart, and they came a minute 18 or a minute what did I say? 38 apart. I think that's something like that. So goal. And it was 5-3 for the Jets at that point in time. And anytime a team can put up 7 goals in a period, like the Wild did last night.
Yesterday.
Yeah, you're wondering, is there something real stinky afoot? But there was not, as Nino Niederreiter. Whenever the Jets need to slow things down and shut things down and calm things down, Rick Bowness taps Lowry, Niederreiter, and Appleton, and they go, and the Wild have the zone time, but the Jets do an adept job at keeping it to the outside. Then they force the turnover, and then Nino Niederreiter breaks in and puts the puck into the empty net, does so without causing an international incident, so Morgan Riley doesn't have to lose his mind again. But it's 6-3 for the Jets with under 3 minutes to go, and at this point in time it is game over. That's Niederreiter's 14th of the year. Good job by the Winnipeg Jets in winning a 6-3 margin over their rival, the Minnesota Wild.
Yeah, we have an avowed don't describe or talk about or break down empty net goals. But you do give credit for Adam Lowry. Again, you talk about the presence of mind. And it was funny because Nino Niederreiter kind of looked over and he was contemplating, I think, a pass. But, good on him for just putting it into the back of the net quickly and really just putting an end to that hockey game. And when it was 5-1, I was curious if this game was going to
get silly.
I
tweeted the same thing.
Yeah. And so I was contemplating. I was like, well, I wonder what the Wild, and again, the Wild can't really afford to do anything stupid. They're missing, as I said already, Pat Maroon. They're missing Marcus Foligno. So you can't really afford to lose guys to just stupid, like suspensions, anything like that for any sort of, and I don't know if the league said anything about it, but I suspect, Rick Bowness was pretty
well. Hang on,
clear.
Talking about that for a second. When all the drama with Perfetti and Hartman and everything happened, wasn't there supposed to be runway during today's broadcast and where the audio was supposed to be?
No. It was supposed to be because the games were in December. Right. And so I think it was the January 16th runway. They were in theory going to release it, but then they were, I believe the message came.
No, don't release it. Okay. I knew there was something to do with that. I thought it was supposed to be today's game, but clearly I'm incorrect on that one. But yes, there was no nonsense. And I really did wonder, if there was going to be anything at that 5-1 mark. look, the Jets got their revenge. Then there was a revenge. They got the victory, and they got their ultimate revenge by scoring that goal, the 4-1 goal, with Ryan Hartman sitting in the penalty box. So that the bench definitely loved that, to look over and see him make that the skate of shame from the penalty box back to the Minnesota Wild bench in that instance.
Well, and look, the fact is that I didn't think there'd be any stupidity, because the Minnesota Wild still need to play hockey and win games, and that's what their focus is. And so they're, like you said, Drew, it's not out of reach. I mean, Nashville, I believe someone in the chat said Nashville was beating Vegas 4-1. So they look like they'll put a little distance between themselves and Minnesota. And of course, St. Louis, who the Jets play. Do they play them next Tuesday?
That sounds right.
Yeah, I think it's St. Louis next Tuesday. So, I mean, St. Louis is they were a little bit hot. So those teams are all kind of fighting for that final spot. And we'll see, obviously, how it plays out.
Yeah.
But Minnesota I guess what I'm getting to is that they had to play hockey in, this game. Now, if Minnesota didn't go on their 7-2-1 run and get to within striking distance of a playoff spot, then I'm really curious as to the way this game, and of course, if you add in Pat Maroon and Marcus Foligno, what this game could have potentially looked like. But because of the manner in which, like I said, both teams are focused, right? Like the Jets know they want to win because they're trying to get first over Colorado and Dallas, and again, use those games in hand that they have. Because that's the other thing, right? The Jets have a lot of games in hand or had a number of games on hand on both Dallas and Colorado. And it doesn't do you much good if you're not winning them. So when you have those opportunities, especially when Dallas lost to the Rangers tonight, and did Colorado play tonight, Drew? I don't think so.
Yes, Colorado won tonight. They beat the Vancouver Canucks 3-1.
So they sleep. Oh, so the Canucks are in a real tailspin right now.
3 losses in a row for the Canucks. Yes, but the Stars lost though. So the Jets and the Avalanche gained ground on the Dallas Stars with tonight's results.
Right.
So look, a 6-3 victory for the Winnipeg Jets. They will gladly take it. They beat their division rivals. They improved. I think it was 13-3-1 against the Central Division, and of course 34-15-5 on the year. That is the Betway game recap here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Before we go to break, and of course we want you to stick around for after the break for the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment and some interesting comments from Gabe Velarde about the Jets play and their line, the top lines play at 5-on-5, so you'll want to stay around for that. We want to remind you that next Thursday, a leap day party so big it happens only every 4 years. Join us next Thursday, February 29th. The Jets and the Dallas Stars are going to do battle. We are going to be at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue for a watch party and then a live edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Like I said, February 29th only happens every 4 years. What better way to spend it than with us at Illegal Curve next Thursday, 7 p.m. Yours truly, Dave Manouk. Producer Tim is back, so we will have audio like perfection like you've never heard before, because Lord knows Dave and I can't do anything on our own. So that's next Thursday. Join us, Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue, 1160.
That's a big game,
Avenue.
Drew.
It's a huge game. The Jets and the Dallas Stars. It's a huge game. That's why you want to be there at Boston Pizza. Join us. It's going to be a fun night. It's going to be a fun time. We look forward to seeing you. We're going to remind you about this for the next week or 10 days or so. But next Thursday, mark it down in your calendar. Maybe you have a Google calendar. Maybe you have an Apple calendar. Maybe you have a whiteboard that you write things down on your wall to keep track of important things. Wherever you do so, whatever you do, be sure to be there next Thursday. Colby's going to be there. He's going to be snapping photos.
Larry said he might be there.
Larry's going to be there.
No, he said he might be there.
No. Once you say might, that means you have to be there, Larry.
Darwin will be there.
Excuse. There you go. Darwin is going to be there. Everyone who's anyone is going to be there.
Doug might not be there though. Doug plays hockey on
I know Doug plays
Thursdays.
Hockey on Thursdays. I know.
So we don't know if Doug will make it.
Doug, you got to reprioritize. We've talked about this before. In any event, we'll be there next Thursday. Be there. See us next Thursday, Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. We're going to be there for a good time to watch the Jets and the Stars.
Drew, you did some good moving.
There you go. Larry's now going to be there.
You moved him from I might be there to I will be there.
Matt, that's just how powerful I am. Don't go anywhere. Much more of the Illegal Curve post-game show to come. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk with you on this Tuesday evening.
Boston Pizza harnessed Betalytics to test if the game is better at home or at Boston Pizza. The results are irrefutable. Catch the game at Boston Pizza, powered by Betalytics.
You guys ever wish for a game changer in life?
Like finding out your favorite snack has 0 calories?
Or discovering the mute button on Ezzy?
Picture this, a secret weapon for parking where you can book a spot a whole month in advance.
Tell me more, Drew.
Pre-book your parking at really low rates, or maybe even for free if you use the code Illegal Curve.
Free? What is this, sorcery?
The Grid Park app. It's a real secret weapon that has affordable game day parking, and to sweeten the deal even more,
I love sweets.
our listeners can use the code Illegal Curve to park for free.
Holy Zamboni!
Tell me about it. Just download Grid Park, GRYD Park, and use the code Illegal Curve, all one word, to park for free.
The game can change just like that. Accidents happen when you aren't protected. So now what? Getting to your injury quickly can make all the difference. Help prevent them from being game changers with Linden Market Dental Center. Bonding, crowns, bridges, and dental implants. State-of-the-art treatments are available to help you get back in the game. To learn more, visit LindenMarketDentalCenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Your coworkers love you because you always make them laugh. You're the life of the party with stories that have them rolling on the floor. Or maybe you're just the quiet one in the corner with the one-liners that just slay. Do you have what it takes to become Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job? Try your luck. Hit the stage at Rumors Comedy Club, and you could be walking away with $1,000 cash. Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job. Presented by Rumors. For all the details, head to rumorscomedyclub.com.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. Shortly after 11 o'clock, somehow I'm still awake. I don't really know how that happened, but that's okay. I'm going strong. It's the power of Manouk. That's what's driving me through this Illegal Curve post-game show edition. If you haven't already done so, folks, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Smash
We're
the
13 away, Drew. 13 away from 6,000.
It's imminent. That's what it is. It's imminent.
Join us. Be part of the IC Army, as he calls us.
The IC Army. There you go. Friday night. That'll be our next time that we're in action. The Jets are in Chicago to face the Blackhawks. Then we'll do the post-game show. I think it's a 7:30 puck drop, if I'm not mistaken. So post-game
Yeah, it's
show,
a weird time.
A little bit after 10 o'clock on Friday night. Then Saturday morning, bright and early, 9 o'clock, the Illegal Curve hockey show. And then Sunday afternoon, it's a 5 o'clock puck drop between the Jets and the Coyotes. So we'll be doing that probably around 7:45 or so p.m. on Sunday. So lots of Illegal Curve set to come your way this weekend, and that's the way that we like it. Wanted to make mention of, I just wanted to highlight a comment from Gabe Vilardi, because, the Jets, again, 6 goals looks good. their top two lines were not great in this game. They were hemmed in by and large and outplayed by and large by the Minnesota Wild's top lines. The power play makes things look a lot better for the Winnipeg Jets tonight, something you haven't been able to say very often. Here's Gabe Vilardi on the play tonight. Quote, I think we had some breakdowns. LB made a lot of good saves 5-on-5. We got 2 power play goals, but there were still some things we weren't great 5-on-5, especially our line. We struggled tonight 5-on-5, but I think we were cleaner as a group. I thought our third line was really, really good tonight, especially against their top guys. Credit to Lowry, Appleton, and Nino Niederreiter. There's going to be breakdowns every game. You're not going to be perfect. Obviously, you won, so it's a bit of a better mood. But he's right in saying that the Jets' top line, especially when they were matched up against the Wild's top line, they lost those battles fairly handily tonight, Dave.
Yeah, and you respect the fact that he's an honest player, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing about Gabriel Vilardi. He really doesn't try and blow smoke, and you have to respect that. I should say you have to. I choose to respect his honest assessments of that because you enjoy that. I like it's not like, what are my lying eyes telling me? He's telling you, look, we weren't particularly great out there, and there were some ways that we looked better because we scored on the power play, and he's not wrong. Laurent Brossoit was excellent in that second period. Could have looked a lot differently. I mean, this is a Wild team that scored 7 goals last night against Vancouver. Now, Vancouver, of course, is in a tailspin right now after the Jets handed them their first loss on Saturday night. Then they lost again to these Wild yesterday. And as Drew said earlier, they've lost to Colorado now. So they're reeling with 3 straight losses. But I mean, these Wild were down 7-3. Was it 7? Yeah, 7. No, it wasn't. I don't think it was 7. I think it was 6-3. I don't think it was 7-3. I think it was 6-3.
They scored 7 third period goals. Regardless.
Yeah, I think Vancouver got 1 goal in the third. So I think it was 6-3, and they ended up winning 10-7. So I mean, ultimately, this is a team that was feeling very good about themselves, and you knew that there's a desperation element of it because they want, first of all, and not only that, there's a psychological element too, because if you remember those times, not the playoff years, but like the times where the Minnesota Jets would go into Minnesota, they couldn't seem to beat them, and now the Jets have taken
reversal.
That's right. The Jets have taken all 3 of the games this season. So, I mean, I think Minnesota had a lot on the line. And again, one game in the 50s of the season isn't going to make or break your season because there still are 30 games, depending on what the Wild have, 28 games, 27 games left. Yep. But the fact is that these points are critical. And so, like I said, Laurent Brossoit was excellent. I think someone said that he got the jacket.
He did. I think and I think I saw Lowry maybe also got a jacket. I'm not sure. It's on the socials.
Okay. On the socials. There you go. So anyways, ultimately, there's things that you want to see them clean up, but the point is they're scoring. You don't want to get too loose, but they're scoring, which is important. Yeah. And again, not just one line, and they're getting power play goals. So again, there's definitely areas they need to clean up.
They're not downplaying that they need to clean those areas up. They're not saying, "Oh yes, we were," but they're sort of leading with the fact that we weren't good enough at 5-on-5. So there's a realistic analysis of their game, which in years past maybe they would poo-poo the downfalls or the drawbacks, whereas this year they're sort of leading with the drawbacks.
Well, and remember, Drew, they look at their schedule the next 6 games, right? You've got, as you touched on, they got the Blackhawks on Friday, then the Coyotes. Coyotes are in a downward spiral. I think they lost 5 in a row or something like that. Yeah, the Blues, who are hit or miss, and you got Dallas, who's formidable. Right. You got Carolina, who's that weird game at 11:30 on Saturday. So we're gonna finish the Illegal Curve Hockey Show
and just start straight through to the post game show.
I may not even finish uploading that show or uploading the show before it's time for puck drop in Raleigh, and then of course they play Buffalo. The Sabres. So they've got a very, I don't want to say easy schedule because we've seen that any team can beat any team in the NHL, but they've got a favorable schedule for the start right now for the next 6 games. So this is the time for the Jets to start to work on those things. Mm-hmm. Can't take the game off. And again, we're not going to jump ahead to the game on Friday, but it's important for them to be able to kind of get back to what they've, again, like I said, they've got the power play working. That's good. They've got the goals coming in, but they got to tighten up their 5-on-5 game again. And the lines have to start working a little bit better.
That's right. Let's wrap up tonight's post-game show with the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
The Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
Big thanks to our friends at Tough Duck for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. This appears to be a new commenter, so I'm going to grant them the winner of the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Oh, you didn't know? Well, you better call somebody, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a wrestling reference, New Age Outlaws, if I want to go back to my high school years. And somebody in the chat will correct me.
Wow.
Wrong, but I believe that's where we're talking about is a New Age Outlaws Degeneration X reference. I'm happy to know the Jets heard our concern for the lack of scoring and power play. It's been 3 to 4 games, scoring 3 to 4 goals and winning 3 to 4 of those games. So congratulations to Oh, you didn't know? Well, you better call somebody. You are the winner of tonight's Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Send me an email, drew@illegalcurve.com, or slide into my DMs at ICDrew, and we'll hook you up with the prize courtesy of our friends at Tough Duck. Just send us your mailing address, and that is what we will get you over from our friends at Tough Duck. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to everybody for joining us on this edition of the Illegal Curve Game Show. We want to say a big thank you to all of our friends who sponsor this show, who help make this show become a reality, who help make the website become a reality, who help make the Saturday show become a reality. That's our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Grid Park. Be sure to use code Illegal Curve to park for free. Our friends at Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, and Farmery Beer, home of Illegal Curve Lager. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Thanks to my colleague Dave Manouk for joining us. If you missed any of it, the instant replays on the YouTube channel, illegalcurve.com, has all your Winnipeg Jets, Manitoba Moose news, audio, post-game coverage. Everything you need to do is go to illegalcurve.com and our YouTube channel. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave us some feedback here, there, and everywhere. That's all we ask. We thank you very much for doing that. We'll be back Friday night at around 10:15 p.m. That'll be the next edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show, but illegalcurve.com, of course, rolls on unabated from now until then and all times in between. For Dave Manouk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks so much to everyone for joining us. Until Friday at 10:15, we wish you good night and good luck, and thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.